Luka Nation, episode I think 638 of Luka's Tigers and Bronze, and we're having such a blast with this series of Women in the Hobby 10 for 10. And we've had Mama Breaks on, we've had She Collects on, and today we're going to learn from a true business owner, someone that has a decade of experience in the game. They've been through cycles in this business, and hopefully you guys get an opportunity to learn not only, what it takes to run a business, but the ins and outs, the nuances, because more people than ever are starting businesses, channels, careers in the hobby. And believe it or not, we actually want you guys and girls to be successful. We want this to be not a flash in the pan where you're in business for a year and then out, but we want you to have a story of how you started a business in 2022. And then in 2032, you were all Luka's Tigers and Bronze. And I believe, in my opinion, my humble opinion, that Sara Layton is a great person to learn from. So unless you live under a rock, you know about Layton Breaks, you know about the business, the network of people you guys have kind of, I guess, pulled into your ecosystem and left them better off. So without further ado, I want to welcome Sara Layton to the 10 for 10 Women of the Hobby series.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
So I got to start it off. One, we talked for like 5 minutes behind the scenes before we jump on here. And the funniest thing is Andrew just talks, I talk, and then we start, we hit the record button and it's like, hey, Luka Nation. All of a sudden, the olive oil smooth voice comes out. I'm like, that was pretty nice, man. I don't know if you practice that. It's like, ooh,
kindred
Sinatra.
Spirits. Sarah's nice. From South Jersey, that Philadelphia area. So it's that's got a special place in my heart, Cage. You know that.
I mean, that was pretty cool. And then second, the most important thing is we've called this the Women in the Hobby, right? And I've seen groups, Women in the Hobby. But in the couple of minutes we got to spend with Sarah while I was catching my breath and cleaning sweat from my brow here because I'm just running around the house all day, issues, I got to tell you. She has not corrected us. But Sarah's used the phrase women in the industry a couple of times. So let's start there if we can, because maybe 3 episodes in, we're going to have to change the segment here and call it 10 for 10 Women in the Industry. Does that matter? Why, and talk to me about that, because I think it does, by the way.
You think it does? I don't call it a hobby, and it's not for any. I mean, it's an industry, right? I mean, it's a business. And to be completely transparent with everybody, I only recently started collecting. Mm-hmm. So 2020 would be, I think, probably when I bought my first card. So I mean, it's always been a business to me. I mean, my husband, he's collected since he was a kid. So, I mean, if you were to ask me my hobbies, collecting cards would not be one of them.
Beanie Babies.
No, I did not connect with Beanie Babies either.
Disney pins.
No, I don't. No.
Damn it. All right. I'm going to guess some more later on. I'll tell you why I think it's important that, you say women in the industry. And I
think you've actually said it. I think it was like maybe 50, 60 episodes ago. You mentioned it when maybe you went to a show, Cage, and you were like, this is bigger than a hobby at this point.
And it's more important now, and that's why I'm glad we have Sarah on, right? Because we've seen people come and go, and it's easy to come and go from a hobby. But when you're making this a business, when you're making this your business, when you're invested in a business, right? To say it's a hobby, it's almost fleeting, right? It's like, okay, people collect, some people put money in, you name it. But it's an industry, right? It's now something that is, I take it as, multiple businesses in it, real money coming in. It's something that is long-term and will remain. Where card collecting wasn't always like that, right? And if you're in the hobby, as people who are listening now were, there are ebbs and flows, and industries have ebbs and flows too. But I think calling it, the industry over the hobby, it denotes it's going to be here. There will be high points and low points, but it's not just going to vanish. And I think that is actually a pretty, important thing, not to mention, coming off of a Mint Collective, coming off of, some of the things that have happened now with National this year, shows at Fenway, you name it. I think, anybody from the outside looking in, coming into this, right, would consider it an industry. And I think the people in it are better served by calling it an industry because you're probably going to, attract more money, more investors, a different sect of people to it when you call it an industry instead of a hobby. So I kind of like it. This was not me calling you out saying, hey, she's too serious. Like, I think it's actually good.
Well, I mean, as a business owner, I mean, it is a hobby to most people. But I mean, you kind of have to learn early on you don't take from your own stash, I guess would be the easiest way. I mean, that could be used in a lot of different settings.
You don't
get high on your own supply, man. That was all a dream.
Okay, so it's something you need to know early on, because I mean, and we were pretty guilty of it early on as well, where we would get our allocations or whatever in our shop, and we would open it. Well, you can't make money off of it after then, and we're trying to run a business. I mean, we at the time when we started, I had my own career. But it was a business. It was our income. So, I mean, it was something that we quickly had to realize and go further and say, okay, this is a business and we run it like a business. It's we stay very professional, which has its good and bad side. I mean, some people think we're a little too corporate about how we do things, but I mean,
gotta be. This is serious money now.
It's
6 minutes in, she's hit the nail on the head as to why I could never own a hobby business. Because I would open every bit of wax myself. There would not be anything left to sell anyone else. I can't.
Well, you need to surround yourself with the right people.
Because surround myself with like walls between me and the wax is what I need to surround myself with.
Would you be able to take us through kind of like the origin story? Why you guys started the business? What was kind of that light bulb moment? Could you take us through that?
Sure. So before Layton Sports Cards came into existence, Rich was working in construction, and he had fallen off a ladder and broke his ankle. I had worked in healthcare administration for a private.
Does he need a lawyer, by the way? Does he need a lawyer? I know a good one.
It's a little late.
Statute of limitations.
No, Florida. I mean, we don't know when this happens. I mean,
it was a long time. It was a very long time ago. So he had fallen off a ladder, couldn't work anymore, and he sold off all of his tools. That's kind of how we paid our rent for a long time. When he went to go back to work, he didn't have any tools, couldn't get back into construction, and took the quickest job he could find, which was delivering pizzas for Domino's. And he did that for 5 years. And the owners of Domino's gave him a T-shirt that said 5 years of service. And he said, no, I quit.
Wow.
And that was,
what color was the T-shirt? I mean, it must have been a horribly ugly T-shirt.
Well, he realized that
I know.
He was wasting so much time, so.
Cage got a Chick-fil-A T-shirt from one of our fans.
Oh, that's the best thing I ever got.
Entire Mint Collective.
But listen, 5 years trying to avoid the Noid is a long time. You know what I mean? Like it's hard to avoid him for that long. So I get it. 5 years, you get a shitty shirt, and he's like, "That's it. I've listened to Andrew Goldberg enough. I'm never gonna work for the man again. I'm gonna work for myself."
Cage,
right,
can
Andrew?
I touch on that? So we
please.
Came here from Ukraine. My dad, he was a physical education teacher there, but that didn't transfer over. So he could only get one job, and it was a pizza delivery driver for a business called Maggio's. And same thing happened. It was just they weren't valuing him at all. And he said, screw it, I quit. And he opened up our cafe, Horton and Harder, in Suburban Station. So that's same awesome. Type of story. Yeah. I might not be the entrepreneur I am if it wasn't my dad paving the way. And I'm not an entrepreneur aspiring.
Yeah, so I mean that's really how it all went down. I had gone to lunch with one of my coworkers and bought a couple packs of cards for him, and it had brought him back into the hobby. I was changing jobs in the meantime. As he was quitting his job, I was switching jobs, and he said he wanted to give breaking a try. There was only 4 or 5 breakers at the time, and he thought that he had something that he could offer to the industry. Instead of transferring over my 401k, I cashed it out. We paid off all of our debt that we had, and we're living off of what I knew that I could carry on my own salary, my new position. And here we are.
This is 2012, right? Just to get
2011, 2012.
This is right after the Phils won the World Series, though. So things were good. Things were good in this area. Phillies just won the World Series. Life was good.
But let's not gloss over it for a second. Guys,
we actually beat the Yankees, right? If I'm not mistaken.
No.
We lost the Yankees?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry. In 09, the Yankees beat the Phillies. In 09, that's our last World Series. We haven't won in a long time. I'm a horrible Yankee fan. It's been 13 years. It's terrible for me. I don't know. My children, my daughter was born in 09. She got to see the World Series when she was an infant. My son, going to be 9 years old, has never seen a Yankee World Series. Oh, the torture. But I don't want to make jokes. I don't want to gloss over what we just heard, right? This is very important, right? Because what I heard is Layton breaks the company, the employees, what you have built up in the last 10 years would not be there if you did not believe in it. You were the driving force. You were the one who cashed out your 401k. You were the one who said, you know what? I have a job. I believe in you. Go ahead and break. You can go ahead and do your thing. I'm going to hold it down for us. Now, that's awesome because I can tell you, I know a lot of people whose wives will be like, go buy tools, get back to construction. You know what I mean? And not take that chance, right? So let's not gloss over that for a second because, Andrew, you asked for the origin story. It's like, all right, Superman goes in the closet. He comes out with a cape and his wife's like, no. Take the cape off. Stop this crap. No cape for you. It really is. It's awesome because I didn't know this story. And 2012, you're right. There were like it was Breakers.tv, right? Platinum Breaks was around, right? And it was like nothing.
Started before Breakers TV.
See?
We were around, we were on Blog TV, I think is the one that
I remember that.
Oh, it was terrible.
I remember that.
Was the first year was the first year like kind of spinning your wheels? Was it just like you hit and it felt right? Like what was that like? Because a lot of the first few years in business, people don't realize it's not, like glitz and glam. There's a lot of struggle. There's a lot of figuring things out. How were those first 3 years for you?
They were very tough. Because mainly for the first 3 years, I was still working in healthcare. So even with a business that was taking off, I was still the primary breadwinner in the family, trying to keep, everything running in our house, eating ramen more than I can say. I think that's
some ramen's good. Some ramen's good. My daughter's into ramen. I like ramen.
We still eat ramen. I still eat it, but now it's not a necessity. Now it's because I want to.
Nostalgia.
But I think when somebody starts a business, you have to realize that you're not going to make money right away. There's a lot of work that gets put into it before you can start seeing the benefits of what you're doing.
Wait a second. I got to pause for a second. Are you trying to tell me that when you start a business, automatically you're not rich? Like you have to actually sweat a little bit? You got to put some time into it? Andrew, are you hearing this?
Well, it sounds funny right now, but if you look at the last 2 years for a lot of people, whether that's in the NFT land, on Robinhood, in cards, people have gone like 0 to 100 real quick. And
it's true. It's been a crazy couple of years.
It's a very different time back in 2012 in the hobby. Very different time. So
would you preach caution? Would you preach, what would you preach to people who have jumped in and have had a lot of success in the last 3 years?
By the way, to the people who say you're a slob or not good at this, that was a very nice transition. Well done, Andrew. You just went right into it. It was like
dude, one person called me a slob after 640 episodes.
Yeah, but I'm never gonna let it go because it's just a funny thing to call someone. But the question stands, and it is a damn good one to move from 2012. Now we are 2020, 2021, 22. There are a lot of breakers, right? So do you preach caution? Do you, if people come to you for that advice, what do you say?
I do, but that's how I am overall. I'm very cautious about making big changes in a short amount of time. And being that the industry is in an up trend right now, a lot of people are making money very fast and they're trying to invest it into maybe opening up a hobby shop behind whatever they were doing online and the real question is what happens as it starts to trend down? Are you going to be able to sustain what you have? That's my biggest thing. Although we did during the last 2 years, we just bought, we spent $1 million and built a 7,000 square foot facility. So sometimes I wonder if I should just be listening to myself speak and say, this is what you also did. But
that's after 8 years of experience. And tell people 10 years and tell people who don't know about the store, where is it at?
So we are in the Orlando area. We're a little northwest of Orlando, about 45 minutes north of Disney. We have a 7,000 square foot facility where we have a couple of studios that we stream our breaks from, and a huge sorting and shipping space for, obviously we ship a lot of packages out, and we do have a storefront now and a warehouse.
I think a show that would kill Cage's idea. Cage comes up with all the ideas and I steal them. Like, remember Bar Rescue with John Taffer? Hobby Rescue. So without giving out all your secrets, Cage, we did an episode maybe 60 episodes ago where he went to 3 different LCSs and he said, this is what an LCS looks like that's going to make it. This one's barely hanging in there and this one's done. It sounds like you guys kind of did like an LCS 2.0, right? One that you could make content, you could break from. It's more than, hey, come here and look at my cards.
Right.
It's, if there's LCSs listening, without giving away all your secrets, how would you innovate a hobby shop?
Well, I think bringing technology into your shop is probably going to be your biggest advantage right now. I mean, there's so many apps now where you can check the prices for cards and singles that you have in your store. I mean, if somebody's walking into your shop and asking you for a price and you're checking Beckett book, sorry, Beckett, you might not consider, you might not be in business for a lot longer. That being said,
very true.
It is. There's a lot of great shop owners that I've met over the years who still kind of run their businesses as they have, all of these years, and they're very, very successful. And I think really the biggest thing you need to have is really good customer service, because there are so many hobby shops popping up all over the country and the world, really, that if they don't like you or what you have to offer, they're going to go somewhere else. So I think staying up to date on everything you have in your shop and using the technology that is coming out, like Card Ladder. I know we use Card Ladder in our shop. I think it's the only way you're going to really be able to stay relevant going forward.
So, and this is Kevin O'Leary's words. This isn't my words. So I watched this speech of Kevin O'Leary speaking to Notre Dame. I think it was graduate students. And he talked about how he invests in women and men entrepreneurs. And men entrepreneurs, they typically shoot for the stars, and 50% of the time they pay him the money back. 50% of the time, complete bust. But he said 100%. This is Kevin O'Leary's words. Mr. Wonderful, if you guys don't know who that is. 100% of the women he invested in have returned his money. And that's because women hit these very sizable marginal goals, give themselves that boost of like, oh, I could do it. And then they set the goals again. And you just mentioned Card Ladder. Josh, Chris, both great at what they do. But we got to give Christina love, right? Layton's breaks. We see, the people breaking, but it's the women that are oftentimes the backbone. And Mama Breaks even said it on the last episode, talking about how, hey, pull your wife in, pull your girlfriend in, add that diversity, right? Women really can add value as you're growing the business. And oftentimes they're the make it or break it if you kind of like start analyzing and looking behind the scenes. So I'm glad you brought up Card Ladder for that, because Cage, we've talked about Christina and how great she was putting on Mint Collective.
Yep, but I went a different way from what I heard here, Sarah talking about, and I love your Kevin O'Leary point. But think about this: if I were going back to 2012, right, and I had just hurt myself, and I'm going to go with this. No, I'm going to make a go with this, right? And my wife said to me, I'm going to cash out my 401k. I'd say, great. Let's use it right now and buy as much wax as we can. Let's buy everything we can to break and make some money. But what did Sarah do? Paid off all of her debt first.
Yeah.
Right? I heard that. You paid your bills first, right? Because instead of getting further in debt and just hoping that it was going to work out, you said, you know what? I'm going to give us an actual chance to succeed here, because I'm going to get us starting from zero, not starting from a huge hole, which there are a lot of men listening to this. Be honest with yourself, guys. Not a single one of you would have done that. Be honest, none. I know I wouldn't have. No way. No way. Be like, what's a little more debt? Let's go. Flawless. Let's get some national treasures. Let's break, baby. You know. And obviously, I believe, because I remember collecting in 2012 and 2013, it was nothing like this.
No.
And, you know, but week to week, I can imagine it was like, wow, what are we doing this week? And imagine if it was on top of already having debt and making it that much harder to pay your bills. So, Andrew, point is 100% taken, right?
Can I ask you for your? Oh, sorry, kid. Go ahead.
Oh, it's just a different set of eyeballs. You know what I mean? It's a partner in there. Like when you tell me all the time, we're gonna do this, and I'm like, okay, pump the brakes for a second.
You need it.
Let's think about that. You know, it's the same kind of stuff, man. It really does. Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I'm curious your sincere opinion.
What you're saying, though, is a really great point, because the Mint Collective had a lot of women involved in putting the show on. And there was a big difference between that show and other shows, or that conference and other conferences that we have attended that were very, very obvious.
It was clean.
It was refreshing.
Yeah, it was clean.
So clean.
Which is hard in Vegas, but it was clean. It was nice. I enjoyed being there.
Yes, it was great. It was great.
Fanatics, your sincere opinion, right? You've been doing this for 10 years.
Hot seat.
What was your initial response or initial reaction when you saw Fanatics is coming into the industry?
So, I mean, my actual first response was I went to the pantry and I ate my feelings, because I didn't really know what was going to happen. And it was terrifying. I mean, obviously, Fanatics is such a big direct-to-consumer business. So obviously, our concern was what now happens to us. And we've had a lot of talks with a lot of people in high positions in the Fanatics brand. And I'm more and more confident that we will be able to stick around and keep running our business the way that we have planned to run it all these, you know, for the next however many years we're allowed to do it. And I'm excited. I'm excited to see where it goes. They say a lot of things that I agree with. I think there's a good shakeup that can happen with the Topps brand. Knowing things that I do know, because I mean, we have been in the business a while, and there's a lot of women who work at Topps who I have become friends with. So, you know, when you hear things about how things are being run over there, I have a feeling that Fanatics coming in and taking over is going to shake a lot of stuff up, and I see it as an improvement. So I'm excited. Initially, I was not excited. I was like, what is going to happen? What are we doing? Yep. You know, now what do we do? I'm like, do I have to go get a job?
No, that was my LCS also, right? He's been doing this for, you know, since the 80s. The guy who I go to, and still no internet presence, no nothing, still runs it like it is the 80s, right? And I went in and I talked to him, and at first he was a little nervous. He was like, I don't know what this is going to mean for me and for my stuff. But, you know, he kind of changed his tune a little bit. Like, you know, they're going to bring in so many people. Like, even if there's a little bit of a change to, you know, how business is done, like, the amount of people that are going to be brought in is going to way more than offset that. And we had Josh Luber on several times, not this last time when we took Zero Cool, but the time before that. I specifically asked him that. I made a joke, I think, you know, because I don't go to the gym. I'm a fat guy. Andrew goes to the gym, and I think I said the wrong exercise. I think I said like bench press, but it was really like shoulder exercise, like a shoulder press. I don't know what the shoulder exercise is. I get this without going to the gym. Why do I need to go to the gym? But anyway,
built by Chick-fil-A.
You got built by Chick-fil-A. You got a lot of weight on your shoulders because every LCS out there is depending upon Fanatics to keep the gravy train going and grow it threefold. I mean, I went to another store over here, and the guy's like, "This is gonna be great. In 2 years, I'm gonna make 3 times as much money." That's what Fanatics is telling me. And he took it in stride and said, "Look, I don't envision the hobby without these card stores. I mean, these shops are gonna probably have to come into the future a little bit. Sounds like you're already ahead of the curve on that one." But he very honestly was like, we need the hobby store, and we need to keep them cool, and we need to have people going in there because that's the front lines for the hobby, industry.
I think something really important that you said was you have a hobby shop and he's not even on the internet. Yep. I think that is going to be a big downfall for a lot of shops. the impression that I got after attending the Tops conference in Arizona I don't even know when it was it February? Is that they are very interested in the shops who had spent the pandemic and all that they have made in the pandemic and then reinvested it in their business. And I saw a lot of shops when there was a Q&A time for the Q&A ask that question, what are the requirements for us to basically stay in your good graces? And I think the impression that I received is that they're going to be way more willing to work with the stores that are taking care of their customers by improving their store. They're also seem to be very willing to help stores do that, whether it's help them with the technology, help them with better signage, anything. Security, obviously, right now is a huge thing for our industry with the amount of break-ins that we're all seeing. But it looks like I guess the best way to put it is like you have to help yourself if you expect for them to help you as well. And you need to reinvest in your own business.
We saw it with the coffee shop, just real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
People used to just come and grab a coffee and leave. And then Starbucks came around and they created an experience. They created a place where people wanted to hang out, right? So I think hobby shops need to do that too. It's not a place where you're going to make money where people just come in, buy a card, you make your 20%, 15% big, and they leave. You're not going to have enough volume because of the internet. But if people leave with an experience, they create content from your store, they meet a friend, birthday parties. There's so much you can do if you think outside the box that I think I'm excited by the innovation.
Us too. And I like how you said the birthday party idea. I heard another shop do that. I think Bel Air, they're in Maryland, I believe. I think he does birthday parties. And I think that is such a great way to bring youth into your shop and into the industry. We don't do it, and we should. So I might actually write that down.
Kids, that was my first job in high school. It was one of my favorite jobs.
A birthday clown? I could see it.
No.
I could see it. Like the big red nose.
So you could play two sports. One was disco dodgeball. I think it was trampoline basketball, and you ran parties for 10, 12 kids, and it was in this arcade center, and there was a batting cage in there. It was so much fun.
I mean, I will never get the image of you playing disco dodgeball out of my brain now. It's just
so much fun.
It's in there, it's just now the audience wants to see it. So can we see a disco move? Can we see did you have to do this and then throw the ball?
It's disco lights. It's disco lights.
You didn't have to actually do the disco dance.
No, and 80s music. I can't. If I knew the song, I would tell you.
Hum one for me. Is it like Dancing Queen? You get a little ABBA in the background. Come on, you could do it.
We were just talking about ABBA with my parents last night. Do you think our generation knows ABBA?
I don't know what your generation is, but obviously disco dodgeball. So I learned something new today. Back to Sarah. Let's go. Enough of your
I know
crap.
ABBA, but I'm older, so I don't know.
If you guys haven't checked out Layton Sports Cards page, you had two awesome breaks. First off, a lot of people don't realize you pulled an Antoine Griezmann card this week.
Yes.
And he commented on it.
He is a huge collector. So
is that? I had no idea. I didn't know that.
Oh yeah.
How do you know that? Can you just share the insight there?
Well, we talked to him.
Griezmann?
Yeah, through Messenger. He has reached out to us. He's a collector. I know he commented on it. It's kind of cool.
And for anybody out there who doesn't know, Antoine Griezmann, he's an F1 driver. He drives for the Ferrari team.
He used to play for Barca.
He played for Barca? Come on.
He actually did play for Barca for a minute. And
I was gonna make that joke, but F1 sounded better.
I mean, F1. Sarah, when you guys pulled the Wander Franco 1-of-1 Inception, did the place just go berserk? Because that's one of the nicest patches I've ever seen.
The one that, yeah. So we kind of joke a lot. We get a lot of heat. People think that we get loaded cases. But fun fact for everyone who watches or listens to your podcast, we don't actually have direct accounts with Topps or Panini, even though we've been trying for 10 years to get them.
Wow.
We always we have jokes, which my husband's going to hear this. He's going to be like, why do you say these things? You need to be more professional.
So don't say it.
We're always, no, I'm going to say it because I like you guys. So.
She's going to say it. You want to know why she's going to say it, pal?
She's
going to say it because it was her 401k. That's why.
Why did you pull that case first? Why didn't you wait to pull that card till later?
But what's funny is I was thinking exactly that. When Andrew started the question and said, oh, how was everyone excited? What was in my brain was, no. They were saying, don't, we got more to sell. No, that kills the product. No, don't show anyone. Don't post it. We got to sell cases of this. Yeah, that's what I was thinking, 100%.
No, I mean, it's great. We love pulling the big cards like that. It's a beautiful card. I'm a big fan of patches like that. I love when it's, it's like a logo patch. To me, it makes the cards look really, I know a lot of people are like strictly auto people, but I'm a big fan of the aesthetics of the card overall. And I think a patch like that just really just brings it out.
And it went to a kid.
Did it go to, I don't even know who it went to. Did it go to a kid?
Yeah.
It was a team break.
Way cool cards.
Yeah, it was team break. It was whoever had Tampa in the break. I remember I was watching it and people were like, oh, who has Tampa? Who has it? It wasn't like a regular, I don't think. It was like, oh, yeah, get ready. Yeah, look at this patch. It was really cool. Yeah. I got a question because we're talking about birthday parties and that kind of stuff. And, maybe you have some, insight into this, if you like. Where are we going? Right? I mean, especially with the kids. Are we going, basketball, F1, or the first thing? No, what I mean by that is, as a store owner, 7,000 square feet, are we dedicating any space to Pokemon, TCG? My son asked me to buy him some Naruto card, I don't know, some Japanese animation thing. I don't even know what the hell it is, but I found it on eBay. So there's my play for the day, guys, Naruto. But I mean, are we seeing that with the kids? Because my son goes to school now every day and he's got a binder of Pokemon cards. They don't know what it is, but it's shiny.
Right. And I think a lot of that, we have two separate rooms in our hobby shop. One is strictly for sports and one is all TCG. We did get, I don't know if you know anything about Warhammer. It's kind of like a tabletop game with these like little figures that you build. They're like this big. They're really tiny and you paint them. Wow. It's a lot of fun. So we have a separate room for gaming only. And then we have the sports room. I see a lot of our younger customers come in and they head towards Pokemon and the TCG. I don't know if it's because they're into that only or if it's because that is affordable.
Good point.
With the prices of, sports cards going up. I mean, we have some Pokemon in our shop that, it's like $15.
Yep.
I don't know there's not much in them, but I mean, our price range for the TCG can be from 15 to, I think we have boxes that are in the safe, that aren't even out on the shelf. So it's a little more accessible for younger people to collect that.
There we go.
So the thing I got the most backlash for was I don't remember, was it last year? I don't know if there were issues with breakers, but I came out and I said, I think the breaking space should be regulated, similar to how like a blackjack dealer should have to get a license. I don't know crap about breaking. It was just like watching it from afar. I was like, these people have a lot of responsibility. They're taking in a lot of money. There's a lot of room for malfeasance, as Dwight would say. What do you think, Sarah? You know the space better than I.
When we started, that was a huge concern for a lot of us. And one of the very first industry summits that we had attended, I believe it was 2013. We had sat down. At that time, the industry really didn't know what to think of us breakers. So the breakers who were in existence back then, we actually had our own breakout session. Not really part of the industry summit. We just kind of made our own. And one of the people who were there were a lawyer, and we kind of talked through, what we were doing and is it legitimate? Because that was a big thing. Like, is breaking even legitimate? Well, 10 years later, I would hope that you think that it is. So, we've gone through a lot of that. I will say we did have a conversation recently with somebody at Fanatics, and they are very much wanting to take the legal side of it on themselves and make sure that it's legal, whether it's how they have to word things or how, the no purchase necessary on their boxes, translates over to group breaking, which is comforting for me because, like you were saying, you break, you just want to open. But from the business side of things, making sure that we are legitimate is always a concern. I mean, a lot of breakers can't use Shopify payments because Shopify payments considers it gambling.
Right. That's the thing. That is, I mean, that's always been the question, right? I think where Andrew comes from, and you know what it is, and maybe you can comment on it because, breakers get painted with a broad brush. I mean, it's somebody does something untoward or somebody does something. My thought always was it's self-regulating, right? If somebody screws over the breaking community, screws somebody else, they're just not going to be in business much longer, right? But the problem, of course, is that the way it works now is you could be canceled on a Tuesday morning by card porn and whoever else catches you not giving away a gold kaboom. And by Tuesday night, you're up with another account breaking and going crazy. It's just another name. It's very, especially with the way that the internet is going, right? You don't need a storefront to break. Anybody breaks, and maybe I guess the next progression is going to be breaking is going to be something where what Andrew was trying to say was licensing. If you remember when PSA, and I think this is a good segue into, what you see next for, hobby stores if there's a downturn. But if you remember when PSA was taking in all these subs, all of a sudden a bunch of group subbers popped up out of nowhere, right? Everybody was group subbing. Send us your cards, we'll group
Not
sub.
Out of nowhere, out of their backyard or garage.
Yeah, I mean, you didn't have to have a storefront, whatever it is, you can group sub anywhere. And then PSA closed, and a lot of these group subbers that was their whole business, and they were done, right? And then PSA, they decided that they were going to have to pre-qualify your group subbers. Remember, you had to be an authorized group subber, you name it. And I wonder if moving forward, maybe Topps and Panini will give you that allocation direct. Finally, they'll be doing it, but only for breakers who are Topps verified, blue check by Topps, this is a verified breaker. I wonder if maybe not as far as to license it, right? The alcohol, tobacco, and firearms and card breaking, unit of the government, but just the companies themselves of the product you're breaking. This is a breaker who's Topps verified, Fanatics verified, that kind of stuff. I could see a world with that, right? Because it adds another level of protection, right? And you're, as a breaker, not going to mess around with somebody's cards. That wander's not going to get slid off the table because you now jeopardize your relationship and your ability to get the product from these people you're verified with. I can definitely see that.
Right. I mean, on a smaller level, I mean, if we were to slide that wander and keep it and not give it, do something a little shady with it, I'm also jeopardizing 23 people who work for me, who rely on us for their livelihood. And that's not something that we're willing to do. I mean, I'm not saying we're perfect. We make mistakes, obviously. But you just have to learn from them. I mean, we ship wrong all the time, unfortunately, it happens. But I think what people need to look at is how we correct those issues. I mean, we try to go above and beyond if something gets shipped wrong. It's going to happen because nobody is perfect. And when you're shipping out hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of packages a week, there's always going to be an error. It's going to happen, So we try to pride ourselves on improving. So when, I mean, we're going back a little bit. I'm not sure who really knows about it, but the whole Brandon Cooks, the 99. Do you guys know anything about the Brandon Cooks? Look it up.
You should leave it. You should just leave it. If it's already a forgotten story,
the point, it has nothing to do with us, but from that incident that happened with another breaker who was no longer around because he was acting shady. We added a second camera. So we have a top camera so that you can see down onto the table. We take these things that happen in the hobby and we learn from it and we adapt to make sure that our customers or, collectors who watch our breaks or just, I don't know, come across our videos on any social media, see that, okay, well, they're trying to make sure that they're completely transparent in how they're running their business. And that makes us appear legitimate, or we are legit. I mean, we are legitimate. I don't want to say appear. We are legitimate, but I think that helps people perceive us as that.
Perception's reality. That was my first lesson. My second job out of college, because I left my first one pretty quickly. My boss, we were in sales. He always said perception's reality. Because I'm kind of like a float by, like I need my own schedule. I need to do my own thing. And he said, Andrew, I know you work hard, but the rest of the office doesn't see that, right? So understand perception is reality. And it was a lesson. Like I say, I understand that more and more as I get older. It's not necessarily what you do, it's how other people perceive you and what you can do to leave no doubt. I have two questions and we'll wrap. First of all, I appreciate you being so generous, so easy to schedule with, so generous with your time. First question.
We'll see how good these questions are. I may have some questions.
Do you regret leaving your job? Do you regret starting the business 10 years ago?
What's that?
Do you regret leaving your job, starting this business, going all in on your passions, you and your husband, 10 years later now, 12 years later?
No, I actually didn't leave my career until about 6 years ago. Early on, I was very, very adamant with my husband that this was his thing. This is your thing. You do it. I have my own career that was going pretty well.
Now, was that so that if it fails, you could be like, it was your fault, but if it succeeds, you could be like, hey, no. I'm half of this.
Because, I mean, I worked hard to get where I was in my own career, and I wanted to keep pushing it forward. But I mean, when you work in healthcare, it was getting a little tougher over the years. And eventually, he's like, I was still helping the business when I was not working. So I basically had two jobs. Yep. But eventually we had moved down to Florida. I changed into another position. I lost all my vacation time and all that stuff. And I was tied to my new position in Florida. And finally, Rich said to me, he's like, you should just come work for me, which I was like, all right, well, fine. Let's see how this goes. And I did. And here we are.
Little does he know he works for you.
Correct. Yeah. What a fool.
All right, what's your second question?
So, Sarah, where should people follow you guys? I mean, 50,000 followers on Instagram. I would say 99.9% of people listening do follow you, but where should people follow you guys?
So we stream live on YouTube and Twitch, Layton Sports Cards. We are on Instagram, Facebook. We are on Twitter. We are on TikTok, all Layton Sports Cards. I think Twitter is Layton Sports. What I really do want to kind of get the word out for is Layton Gaming. It is a newer channel for us. So we really would love to see people follow us over there. It is growing, not as fast as I would like, but I have to remember that 10 years ago, we weren't growing at the rate we are now either. It's Layton Gaming Official. You can find us also on YouTube. You can find us on Twitch. You can find us on all the social medias and TikTok as well. Layton Gaming Official for that.
So if I'm allowed, I know you've been very generous with your time. I don't know if you've seen the movie Back to School. Rodney Dangerfield, Dr. Philip Barbet gives him the question, and he says, I only have one question for you, but it's in 27 parts. I have one question. It's going to be 2 parts, though. I'm known for this. I rant, I ask long questions. But I would, if we hung up and I didn't ask this, I would feel like I did a disservice to our listeners, right? It is women in the industry, 10 for 10. Number one, you've been doing this for quite some time. You've seen ups, you've seen downs, you've seen the business, you've built a business. So it's part A, advice to a woman, to a man, to anyone who's thinking about starting a business in our hobby, in our industry. Is it something you say just jump right into? Is it something you say be pragmatic about? Is it some advice you could give from your journey over the last 10 years? And then part B, which I'll remind you of, these are long questions, I'm sorry, is how about given the ups and downs in the hobby, is there a bit of, go ahead, gung-ho, but here's the, I'm going to preach a little bit of caution in that also. Anything you've learned through the last decade of ups and downs that could also be a little bit of advice to give to somebody who's thinking about starting a business? Long question. I apologize.
Okay. For someone who is trying to start out in this business, I think start out with products that you love and that you enjoy, because if you enjoy what you're doing, it's going to come through, whether you're breaking or you're trying to open up a shop. if you try to get in on something that you may not know a lot about, like I don't have a lot of knowledge about football. I don't enjoy it. But if I was to start breaking myself and I was only going to do football, it would be very obvious that I have no idea what was going on. But I could talk to you all day about how glad I am that Ben Simmons is no longer a Philadelphia 76er.
I mean, to be fair, if I was from Philly, I wouldn't be a football fan either. Die, Eagles, die.
I think it's important for people who do want to get into the industry to make sure that at least starting off, they focus on what they do, what they like. If you're going to start collecting, collect what you like. Don't just collect flawless because you can get the most value or because you're looking for the triple logo man. If you don't like that product or that sport, don't collect it, or you're not going to enjoy it. You know, I think that's the biggest thing that a lot of people start to lose. You know, I mean, we talked earlier about, we call it the industry. It is a hobby for a lot of people, and people want to turn the hobby into their job, their business, their livelihood. But you still have to kind of enjoy it, because if you don't enjoy it, then you might as well be working at Chick-fil-A or Domino's.
I would enjoy that. I got to tell you, I would enjoy Chick-fil-A. So I get the best of both worlds. I actually.
Are you happy with Harden? Are you happy with Harden on the team now? You could reserve that.
I don't know what to say. You know.
Yeah.
So I developed a model.
I feel like we gave up way too much for him. I really was a big fan of Seth Curry. I was a huge Seth Curry fan, and I loved him on the team. And I thought he played well with the other players. So I was very sad to see him go. Ben, I have words that I can't say about Ben. It would not be allowed.
People don't understand how much the city supported Ben. Like people think like the city just like oh, go the city, dude. The city gave him so much love.
I'm pretty sure I have a Ben Simmons jersey in my closet.
Yeah.
I was all Ben early on, and I mean it was one of those things where you kind of learn in the relationship that Philly fans make with their teams that it was going nowhere. No matter how much effort or support you put behind him, it was not going anywhere. And I'm glad he's gone, and so sad he's not playing. Just kidding. I don't care. I don't know.
Don't let the door hit you with the good Lord split you, right? We used to say that kind of stuff. All right. And second, favorite cheesesteak place in Philly?
That's a good question. I'm from South Jersey. So in South Jersey, I used to love to get the cheesesteaks at Irma Deli. It was down in North Cape May. I had the pleasure of going to the Transcendent Party, the Bryce Harper Transcendent Party last summer. And I was in the area for about 5 days total, and I probably had 7 cheesesteaks because I was not satisfied with a single one. So I'm going to say get the roasted pork sandwich, not the cheesesteak.
Atlantic City, Nationals in Atlantic City. You went down there 5 years ago, had a great time. Where do you recommend people check out outside of the show? If there is something like that.
So for anyone who hasn't been to Atlantic City, it's a lot. I mean, obviously, Las Vegas is a huge destination as well with casinos. But what Atlantic City has that I always enjoy is the beach bars. You're outside, you're on the sand, you're listening to music, and you're drinking with your friends and listening to live music or a DJ or whatever. And to me, that's one of the funnest things that you can do. I would say as a foodie that I am, just eat wherever you can get food, just eat the food, eat the seafood. If you can get seafood, get seafood. If you can get flounder, get flounder. If you can get scallops, get the scallops. I think the food scene is underrated. People don't think of Atlantic City and think food, but I also have been living in Florida for 6 years where the food scene is non-existent. So I could just be biased, but yeah, get the boardwalk pizza. When you look at it and it looks disgusting, it's not disgusting. Just get it. It's delicious. That's what I have to say. I love I mean, I'm not small. I love food as well. So and I enjoy eating and I enjoy cooking, and I miss the food up there the most. And
Atlantic City's weird, like saltwater taffy. Like, who came up with that?
That's a long-standing tradition. So if you're going to go there, you're going to go to Frailinger's. You're going to get the saltwater taffy. As born and raised at the Jersey Shore, I don't like it.
Yeah. So it's just a weird thing. Like it's like this saltwater taffy every third place on the boardwalk. It's like, get your saltwater taffy here. I'm like, all right.
You have to get it from Frailinger's. That's the place. Frailinger's is the saltwater taffy, like the original saltwater taffy.
And I mean, it's interesting. I'm curious to see how they do it because the convention center is set back far enough off the boardwalk where you cannot walk it, nor would you want to walk from a hotel on the boardwalk to the convention center. You also have hotels in the marina, which are also kind of a little off. So it's gonna be interesting to see how, there's a hotel at the convention center, but that hotel is near the show and near nothing else. You're gonna have to Uber to the boardwalk, and so it's gonna be an interesting kind of dynamic.
Yeah, you're gonna have to Uber, and I think another piece of advice that I should give that's really important is book a hotel. Don't rely on the Airbnbs because Atlantic City does have some areas that are not safe and you're not going to want to stay there. So stay at the hotels. I mean, I know they get very pricey, and there's there's a whole tourism tax, and it's the summer at the Jersey Shore. So prices for accommodations is going to be high, but you're not going to want to be stuck in an Airbnb in a location that's not safe. So just stay at a hotel. Just save yourself.
Guys, I'm working on something. If Cage can liquidate his 401k, we're going to get this huge Luka Nation mansion. Cigar night's going to be there. Parties. It's going to be like the Jersey Shore show.
He sent me this picture, Egg Harbor. He's got this house, he's got this mansion in Egg Harbor. I was like, hey now, that's not a bad place. Hey now.
It's not. Egg Harbor's great, but you're going to have to drive to the show every day if you plan on going to the show. That's the thing.
Part of the
he already has Tiger buses. They're painted orange and black. He's got like jitney service back and forth. It's going to be crazy. It's like the Real World Road Rules Challenge.
I'm a little jealous that I'm not going to be there now, so...
That's it. None of this is actually happening. This is all complete fantasy. So don't be jealous.
It totally happen. I think you guys should do it. You just get a film crew, and you can just make your own little Jersey Shore version of the National.
I'm not the only one.
I know you are. Your dreams cause nightmares for me. Sarah, it has been a pleasure. We thank you for coming on. Andrew, anything else before we let our guest go?
That's all. I mean, so I know you're growing. I know your business is growing. If you're looking for talent, anyone should reach out to you, and where should they reach out?
Yeah, we're almost always hiring. I know we have a breaker who's going to start training with us soon. Stay tuned for that. He's also from the Northeast, so I am excited because those are my people, I guess. But he'll be coming down soon to start training. We're always looking to expand our team that we have. You can send an email to shop@laytonsportscards.com with your resume. I do have something that I want to add when we were talking about the National this year. So I have been working with Megan of the National about getting some tickets in the hands of women collectors. So I am really excited that I actually have 4 VIP tickets that I will be giving away to 4 women collecters. I haven't made a post yet on social media. You're kind of the first people to hear about it.
Woo! Breaking news.
Woo-hoo! We'll
support any way we can. You could tag us, we'll repost and all that stuff.
Yeah, I definitely will. Basically what I'm going to do is have women email me that they plan on going to the National, and they would, that they want to have a VIP ticket, and I'll do some sort of like a random, and we'll just pick 4 winners. It's just for the ticket. You have to pay for your own hotel and airfare or whatever to get there. But I would love to see more women attend the show. I've been going to the National for 11 years, 10 as a business, once as, tagging along with my husband at the time. And, there's not as many women there that should be. The numbers are growing, and I want to help them grow even more. So 4 VIP tickets.
If there's a listener, a sponsor, who wants to kind of jump on board and subsidize, whether that's 1 hotel room, 2 hotel rooms, whatever it is, please reach out as well to us, and we'll connect you with Sarah. It's just a good deed. It's fun. It's fun to give back as well. Like, I think the best feeling is actually giving back.
Listen, we could talk about it. Let's give some credit, right? So this is the third episode. The last two, I actually asked the question of our guest, which was, tell me something we can do to kind of, you have a vision of where, the hobby's going to be in a year, where women in the hobby, women in the industry will be in a year. How do we help, move that time frame up? How do we help make that happen in 6 months instead of a year? And here we are talking, which is what Andrew and I do. We do a 10 for 10 show. This is action. You answered the question without even me having to ask it. You said, I'm going to take the bull by the horns. I reached out to the National. I got 4 VIP tickets because that means there's 4 more women who are going to have VIP tickets at the National this year than had it last year. That's, I guess, how we move this thing forward. And anybody who wants to help, add to that, let us know.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I can give you guys my email after this, and if you want to add it to whatever you need to add it to. And I will, like I said, I will be posting it on social media sometime soon. Just haven't had time. But actions always speak louder than words, and I think that's important. So hopefully this helps.
4 months away, National. It's going to be here before you know it. Sarah, you're a boss. This was super, super fun. We'd love to have you back on. We'd love to have Rich on as well. Just
why?
Learn more.
Why? Do you if you get Joe Biden on the show, you're gonna ask for Kamala Harris next? No. We got the boss already.
Come on, you're a moron.
He's fun.
It's
too.
insulting.
All right, we can have him on. It's okay. It's all right. We can have him on. No problem. We can have him on too.
Love you, Luka Nation.
Thanks, everybody.